What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today's video, I don't want to waste time because I got a lot to go through and I have a lot to cover. I just want to say thank you for everybody that joined the live. Had some technical issues, but figured it out. Had some help with that too. So thank you again, guys. I appreciate it. We'll be back again on Wednesday and every Wednesday at 6 unless I got something going on. Anyway, in today's video, I'm going to go over some things that you don't hear resellers talk about. Now, this has to do with the financial side of your business, but this does not only pertain to the financial side of your business. This also can pertain to just your own personal finances. Now, before I go into this, I do want to preface that, or just say that I'm not a financial advisor. I don't have any legal right to give you financial advice. What I will say is this: what I'm going to present to you guys is going to be my own experiential knowledge, okay? Things that I do, and conversations that I've had with my own accountant and another financial planner that I go to the gym with, and my banker, my own banker. So a lot of this stuff is just things that I do, comes from that. It comes from things that I learned talking with those individuals and things like that. Now, I'll say this too. It's not going to be for everybody look, watch the whole video, because there's going to be something in here that you can take away from it that's going to help you at whatever level of reselling you at, or whatever you got going on in your own personal finances, because this is more than just reselling. And what I want you guys to understand is that whether you're looking to run reselling as a business, well, if you want to run it as a business, you really need to listen to this. But even if you're just doing it as a hobby or whatever, look, you're dealing with cash. You're dealing with business principles. This video, if you take what I'm going to give you, there's going to be some nuggets in this video. There's going to be some of you out there that may know this, or that may know some things about this, but there's going to be something, I think, for everybody to take away from this that's going to make you better financially in your own personal finances and in your business finances. And again, this is stuff that I do. I'm not telling you something like, oh, I went and did some research and I'm just giving you some crap off the top. This is what I do in my own business. I'm gonna share this with you guys. All right. And I'll give you pros and cons and things like that. So what I had to do is I had to break this down, because it was and I don't want to go into super detail on everything. So please ask all your questions in the comments below. I'll try to answer some in the comments, but what we'll do is on next Wednesday live, I'll go over it. We can go over it again. That way I can kind of answer it then, but I'll try to answer in the comments as well. But if you got any questions, please ask, please. So here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about, one, accounts, bank accounts, what type of accounts you should have, what type of accounts you should be working out of, what type of accounts you should be having for your finances, your business finances, what type of accounts are available. We're going to talk about how I bring thousands of dollars a year, not a month, sorry, thousands of dollars a year to my bottom line without selling nothing. Okay. This is just in cashback rewards, interest, things like that. This is extra money. Look, this money covers all of my softwares and then some, and it's continuing to build up. Again, some of you guys may be at the level where you can do these things. You may not be, but it should be something that you should be planning for. And especially if reselling is a stepping stone for this, these principles go across the board. It's not just reselling. Okay. These things, this is going to be stuff that can really help you go to the next level if you just take parts of it that apply to you and use them. All right. So we're going to talk about accounts. We're going to talk about credit cards and leveraging credit card debt. And we're going to talk about lines of credit and loans. Okay. Before you get turned off and be like, oh, I don't use that or anything like that, you need to hear me out. You need to hear me out and hear what I got to say. Okay. And then you can kind of judge from there, but don't prejudge yet. So look, here's what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to go through bank accounts. I think that's the most simplest thing to start with. Or I don't think I said that right. I think that is the simplest thing to start with, or the most simple thing to start with, whatever. Anyway, bank accounts. I'm going to tell you what I do and why I do it. Okay, so traditionally, you'll have maybe a savings account and a savings and checking account, right? Now, if you're doing reselling or you're doing any type of business, you've probably heard, or you already probably do, segregate your income, right? You keep your personal finances in one account and you keep your business finances in another account, right? Because what you don't want to do is commingle funds. And what commingling means is basically when you take funds from here and funds coming from here and you mix them up, they're commingled. That can cause a lot of issues when it comes to tax time. And so the traditional wisdom is you want to segregate those funds so that it's easier to do your taxes and things like that. And so you don't have issues where you may end up getting audited, so on and so forth. And so you may have a thing where you got a checking account here for your business and a checking account here for your personal finances. All right, cool. And that's how I did it for a long time. But then I was talking to my banker a while ago. This was a while ago. And he was like, and I was like, because he was asking me about having a savings account. And so I'm just like, well, why would I have a savings account, right? Like, it ain't, I got the checking account. I use that. What's the point? It ain't paying me nothing. I mean, the checking account wasn't paying me anything anyway, but the savings account, what? You get like 0.01%, something like that. So he was like, well, listen, here's the thing though. He said, let's say something happened, God forbid, right? You got your checking account and now you got all your funds in this checking account. He said, so what if something happens and someone gets into your account and they take your money, or they take some of it, they take all of it? He said, yeah, eventually you may be able to get that fixed and worked out or whatever, or may not. He said, but in the interim, what are you going to do if you don't have access to that capital? He said, so I'm like, well, dang, I never thought about that, right? He says, so what you do is you keep enough in your checking account to cover things like recurring purchases, and maybe a little bit extra. And he said, you keep the bulk of your cash in the savings account, right? I'm like, all right, that makes sense because it's segregated. And then you can always transfer between that savings and that checking account. All right. Now that's the basics. That's the basics, to have both a checking and a savings account and keep them segregated and keep the bulk of your cash in the savings account, because he made a point. He said, look, you probably do a lot of transactions, right? He said, you put your card info in here and you do wires and he said, your info's all out there. So you never know. He said, you don't want people to have access to all your funds. If something happens, yeah, maybe we can figure it. Cause like, what if, let's just say you got $10,000 in your account and they take it all. Well, even if we can get that back, that could take months. And what if you needed that cash? What are you going to do in that interim, right? How are you going to pay those bills to run your business? Made sense, right? So you segregate that into a savings account. You keep enough to cover any recurring charges and then a little bit extra. And then you can always transfer as needed. When you got money coming in, or you can have it set up to where your payments go into your savings account initially anyway. And you can always transfer money to that checking account, right? So that's the basic one. So if you don't know, step one is don't mix your reselling money with your personal money. Have two separate accounts for those. Step two, do not have all of your money in one account that you're doing all of your business through. Especially if you're doing a lot of business online. You may be using credit cards online, or you're using your debit card, right? You putting your banking info and your routing numbers, because a lot of us, we do that, right? We might use our debit card or our credit card. We buying inventory online, doing this and that. Don't have the bulk of your money in that account. Look, these accounts are free to open with the bank. They're free. They're not paying nothing. Or I'm gonna get into this next, because this next step is important. But they're going to be free to open. So you just have your savings account. Had a bulk of your money in there. You have any of the online platforms that you sell on, you'll have that connected to your savings account so that they can pay you through that if you want. But preferably, you would hook up your online accounts to that checking account, and you would just, when that money comes in, you just transfer it over to savings. The whole point is to not have any of the money that you have in that savings account, to not have any of that financial info out there on the internet or anywhere else. You're not going to use a debit card from that account. You're not going to give up that routing number, that account number to nothing, to nobody, to do nothing with. That is the account that none of that info is out there. And if anything does go wrong, God forbid, the only info out there is in that checking account, and you don't have the bulk of your funds in that checking account. Okay. So that's step one. Now, step two, this is important too. What you want to do is you want to ask, and this is important, man, because it took me a long time to realize like that I needed to sit down and talk to. I was doing banking with this bank a long time. You know what I mean? And so sometimes you sit down with them to talk about one thing, and that leads to other conversations, man. And I appreciate the one banker who really set me down and really like started bringing these things to light, because I was asking them about lines of credit and things of that nature, which we'll get into that a little bit later in the video. And he was telling me like what they look for. Look, we'll get into that anyway. So the other thing you want to do, all right? Now, I know you might think this is a lot as far as accounts go, but it's important. It's important, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of business. It can happen. Don't ever think it can't happen. It can happen. Okay, so now, checking account wise, what you want to do is have a talk with your banker about what types of checking accounts are available and what the perks are for the different types. Most banks are going to have different types of checking accounts. Look, this is super important, man. Most banks are going to have different types of checking accounts that have different types of benefits, right? And a lot of them might require you to have a certain amount of funds, but if you got money flowing through there, a lot of times you can hold that balance. It ain't going to matter, right? So you need to ask them that. Also, you need to ask your banker, what benefits is there that include the total balance of all accounts? Because a lot of times your banker will say, all right, even if you don't have this much sitting in this checking account because you don't want to keep that much money in it at once, we'll just look at the total amount that you have with us together. Okay. And then here's why this is important. So a checking account I got with my bank is some type of select account. I can't remember the whole name. This checking account gives me some benefits, right? First of all, if I have $60,000 worth of transactions throughout the course of the year, I get an extra $100 at the end of the year. That's every year. You know how easy that is, bro? This is my business. Basically, this is the account that I got business flowing through. So a free $100 right there. Listen, you cannot think that this stuff adds up. This stuff adds up. We're thinking about other ways how we can bring money in, cash flow in to our business without doing the work of selling, because there's a lot of ways to do it. And I'm going to go through a few of them. Okay, now you say, okay, so here's one of the benefits of this checking account I have. $60,000 worth of transactions. After that, I get a free $100. Perfect. I get a free, safe deposit box, a small one. But he said the small ones, this is stuff, honestly, some of this stuff I literally just found out recently, right? I knew of some of the perks, but I didn't even know of all of them. But anyway, I get a free safe deposit box. I get the free $100, one free, wire transfer, because it's a $25 fee. So I get one free one every month. And there's a few others. I cannot remember them all. I didn't write them down, guys. I'm sorry, but those are just a few. Free $100, free safety deposit box, one free wire transfer every month. And I do wire transfers because I buy inventory online. So one free one a month, which is fine because I typically don't do more than one a month, if I even do one every month. And there's a few other things. So you need to talk to your banker and ask them, I need you to explain to me what the different types of checking accounts you have and what types of what the benefits are of each of those accounts. Very important. You might be able to get you some free money. Okay, so we got the accounts. You want separate accounts between your business and personal. You want to also segregate your main account by having a separate savings account, because whatever account that you're doing your business from, that you use your card for, or you use your routing numbers and account numbers for when you go online to do stuff, you don't want to hold the bulk of your money in there, because that could be a liability and it can end up coming to bite you in the butt. May not, but what if it do, right? What if it do? This is all free to do. It's literally just sit down with your banker. It doesn't take any work on your behalf at all. Okay. Now, another thing you want to do is not use your debit cards. Stop using debit cards. What I do and what I've been doing is I use a credit card for everything. Okay, so now we're going to go from the accounts, because we already got the account info set up. Now we're going to talk about how you're going to do business with your cards. For your personal stuff. If you can, because I know some of y'all struggle with your credit. If you're eligible to get a credit card from your bank, get a credit card from your bank. Here's what I do. I have a credit card from my bank that has a certain, balance on it. And so anything that I can pay for with that credit card, any bills, anything that I don't use credit like it's some extra money I got. Okay, I only use it to buy the things that I normally would buy and pay for. Okay, and I have it set up to where I use that credit card, and then every month that credit card automatically takes the statement balance from now this is on my personal account side. It automatically takes the money from my personal account to cover the statement balance. So I pay no interest. Why do I do this? Because I'm going to make these purchases anyway, and I get the rewards points. That's it. Guess what? At the end of the year, I usually have about an extra $500. $500. And you know what I do with that? Typically, I just use it for shopping, like for Christmas stuff, right? So like that's extra Christmas money. This is out my personal account now. So I stopped using my debit card a long time ago. I mean, it just kind of sits in my wallet. I can take it out of my wallet because I'll most likely never use it again. There's no point in me using that debit card. It does absolutely nothing for me. But again, I do not use the credit card to buy extra stuff. I don't go out and say, oh, I got this credit card. No. Only thing I kind of can't pay for is like, I can't pay rent with it, and like my insurance. There's probably a couple of things that I can't pay with it. I got a vehicle loan, so like that has to come out. They won't let me pay with that. But like my utility bills, food, all of that stuff, everything goes through the credit card, and it's only things that I would already purchase. That's key. You're only using it for things that you would already purchase. And why are you using it? Because you're going to because most of us are spending tens of thousands of dollars throughout the course of a year, right? Cost of living ain't getting no cheaper. And so you're only doing it for things you already buy. And at the end of the year, you're going to have hundreds of dollars in cash back. And so like, if your credit's messed up, you might not be able to do it. But if you can, talk to your bank, see what they're looking for. They might give you a small balance, $1,500, $2,000. That's fine. You're only using it for stuff you're going to buy, and they're just going to take the statement balance out. You're not going to pay any interest. You're not. So as long as the statement is paid, it's no interest. I never pay the minimum, ever. It never happens. All right, so now let's move on with the rest of the credit card thing. My business. I never use any like debit card or anything for that. It's always a credit card. Always a credit card. And look, I went back and looked. I don't think I've ever, even when I first started doing this years ago, ever paid interest on my credit card, man. Ever. This year, I've paid very little for supplies because I use my cashback rewards. So pretty much throughout the course, I've bought some of my supplies with my money because sometimes I have to get a bunch of stuff and then my rewards points will go down. And then once they get down like under $100, I'll stop using them for a while until it goes back up. But man, everything that I can buy with that credit card, I buy with that credit card. Okay. And I'm always looking for different cards that I can use that'll give me like, no interest. I got a card right now. And it's no interest for 9 months. I'm also going to get another one that's no interest for 20 months. It's a Wells Fargo card. And you might be thinking, well, why you got all these credit cards and why you going to get all these credit cards? But I'm about to let you know exactly why. But let me just make sure I ain't missing nothing real quick. All right. So look. Here's the thing with the credit cards. The main thing is the cash back, right? I'm making all these purchases, all these business expenses and things like that. That for me, literally is probably, man, I got to look and see how much I earned this year so far, but it's definitely over an extra $1,000 a year, maybe close to $2,000. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, but something I have to check into. But I do know this, I very rarely come out of pocket for my supplies, and I buy a lot of supplies. So that's how I know it's a lot of money. It might be over $2,000, but I buy a lot of supplies. And every once in a blue, I might use the credit card to actually pay for it instead of the rewards points. Now, why do I get these other cards, right? And again, very important. I do not use the credit card to go out and buy stuff that I can't afford. Okay, that's very important. The credit card is more like a net 30 type of thing and to get the cash back. So basically it extends my cash flow, right? Because if I pay for something, I technically ain't paying for it for 30 days. So that leaves cash flow in my business to do other things with. Does that make sense to you guys? So for instance, if let's just say I spent $500 on inventory on the credit card. Well, technically I don't have to pay for that for a month. So instead of that $500 coming out my bank as soon as I make the purchase, and now I don't have that until I start getting those sales back in, now I still have that cash flow to do things with for at least those 30 days. Again, I am never paying the minimum payment. So it allows me to have that cash flow, keeps the cash flow in my business, right? At least for those 30 days. And the other thing is that you might wonder about why I get so many. Well, it ain't like I got a crap ton of credit cards. I kind of, you don't want to, get too many at once. But the more credit cards you have open, of course, it increases your utilization. So which in turn actually raises your credit. So look, let me back up some. One of my goals is to increase my business credit because I do have an LLC. So your business credit is separate from your personal credit. Although when you kind of apply for a loan and stuff, sometimes they will take your personal credit into account, but the two are separate though. Okay. So I'm trying to build both of those things. All right. And so my business credit, I'm trying to build. So I try to use the credit for that. And I'm going to build my personal credit too, because I got some personal goals that I'm trying to reach. And so I need my personal credit, which isn't bad, but it can be better. Right. And so let's say, for instance, because right now I have 3 credit cards open. One of them, I'm about $100 and something from paying all the way down and I'm done with it, but I'm not going to close it. I'm just going to pay it off and I'm done using it. I'm just going to keep it open. The other one is the one that's no interest due for 9 months. Okay. And then the Capital One, I got 2 of those. So maybe I got 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I got 4. And so when I apply for this other one, it'll be 5. But the reason I'm doing it, every time I increase my utilization, my score goes up. And also it helps with some other things that I'll get into when I'm talking about the lines of credit and the loans and stuff. But so now let's go from me using my Capital One card, which technically I would pay interest if I had to pay the minimum payment, but I don't. So I never pay interest. So it's like a net 30. And for those of you who don't know what a net 30 is, basically that's if I give you something and say you got 30 days to pay me back. It's a way to help with your cash flow and all of that, right? People do it, vendors do it and stuff like that. You might have a store that, you ever see the Coke guy goes to the corner store and bring the pop, or the Frito-Lay guy, whatever, right? A lot of the times they do net 30s, net 60s. All I'm saying is we give you the product now, you pay us back in 30 days, or you pay us back in 60 days, right? It's a way for a business to help like with the cash flow. So for us who are running these businesses, and especially a business where cash flow is king, it's a way for me to extend the cash flow of my business. Again, I am never buying anything that I can't afford to pay. Anything that I use the card for, I already have enough to pay it. So I might want to backtrack again to say this. You already have to have a cash flow business. Okay. Some of this you're going to build up to, but I wouldn't recommend you jump right in if you don't already have cash flow into your business, because the main thing that you want to always do is make sure that whatever you use in a worst case scenario, you already have the money to pay it back. And I'm going to get more into that aspect, talking about the loans and the lines of credit, but I always have enough to pay down the balance all the way to 0 if I have to. Always. Okay, that's very important. I never overextend myself financially. I never spend more than I have to pay back. I never use that way. I know some people do. I know there might be times when you will. I don't, because that's not the position I'm in, and nor is that the position I'm trying to be in with my current goals right now. And so I always make sure I have enough to cover it. So make sure you have the cash flow to cover any amount of debt that you use, period. credit card or otherwise. Okay, that's very important. So now these zero interest cards, these are even better than the regular credit card, because that's even better than the net 30. Because let's say, for instance, this one that I don't have to pay, and yeah, it does a little ding on my credit. Like, for instance, I'm gonna get this Wells Fargo one, 20 months, 0 interest for 20 months. And I don't care what the interest, look, the interest rate could be 50%. I do not care, because I will never pay it. I will never pay the interest, because I will never pay the minimum payment. I will only use that card for whatever amount I can pay back the statement balance within a allotted time. So I could care less what the interest is. I don't even look at what the interest, I don't care. Right? I look at a couple of things. I look at what the rewards are for, what the points are, because sometimes maybe, certain cards are for certain type. You get certain amounts of rewards back depending on what you buy. So, for instance, this Discover card I'm waiting on. This Discover card, whatever amount of cash back you earn in that first year, they match it. They match it. So look at this, right? This was crazy. And I'm waiting on it to come right now. I get 15 months, 0 interest. 15 months, 0 interest on this card. And whatever amount of cash back I earn in that year, they match it. So if I earn $500, $1,000, they match it. And then guess what? After that, I'll probably won't even use that card no more. I'll keep the balance open to keep my utilization increase, and that's going to help my credit. They're going to be wanting to give me more cards and more money. But, and so the Wells Fargo card, that card is 20 months, 0 interest. So you might be thinking, well, why am I doing all this, right? Why am I doing it? Look, guys, if you are not a good manager of money, if you're not a good money manager, and you're not disciplined with your spending, and you don't have a goal, I would not advise you to do any of this. I would advise you to get all your spending. If your personal finances are in disarray, if you can't control your own personal spending, the same for you. You need to get that in order first. Okay. But as a business owner, you should have some discipline. I can't say that. I know when I was managing restaurants, there were some GMs, boy. I don't know how they got their job, but yeah. You need to be a good manager of money and discipline with your spending. With the Wells Fargo card, 20 months, 0 interest. So why do I do it? Here's why. Because besides the extra, like when they have certain perks and like if you buy certain things, you might get a bump in your cash back and all of that, or they'll match your cash back at the end of the year. Well, not only is this better than using like my regular one as a net 30, well, because it doesn't pay the interest, or because I don't have to pay interest on the balance for that extended period of time, that means if I wanted to, I can make a purchase, I can make the minimum payment for a month or two at no interest, and theoretically, I can do that all the way up until the end. And then by the time the interest comes due, just have the card paid off, and now I just basically have free money. So my goal with doing all of this is to not use my money to buy anything. I've built my business up using my money. I've built it up to where I have a good amount of cash flow using my money. At this point, because I have things rolling and I always have cash coming in, I don't want to and I'm not saying that I haven't used any of my money at all this year for inventory, because I have, but I've used very little of it. And I'm not saying I won't use any of my own personal funds. It just depends. But my goal is to not have to use any of my funds. Why? Because all the profit would be free profit for me. That means I don't invest nothing. We're going to talk more about this when I get into the loans and line of credit thing. But even with the credit cards, if I use a 15-month interest-free card, well, basically, I can flip that card. And now, look, for you eBay sellers who are only eBay, depending on what you sell, I don't know, man, you kind of figure that out. This is why I like Walmart and Amazon, because the velocity is so fast on stuff that you can flip this stuff over and over and over again. So, for instance, let's say this card, I got a card, $5,000 balance, 15 months, no interest. I make an inventory purchase of items that I know sell through really, really fast, right? Well, I'm not going to say I'll get all that back in a month, but here's the thing. If I know that these are high sell through types of items, I can get probably all or the majority of that back at least within 2 months. And you got to look at it this way. If I make a purchase, maybe I'll spend the whole 5,000 close to it. Let's just say I kind of spend the whole 5,000. Well, I got to get the inventory in. I got to get it listed. I got to wait for it to sell. And then I got to wait for actually get the payments. Well, first and foremost, I have cash flow already coming in. And so that can be paid off pretty much immediately if I wanted to, but I'm not. The whole purpose is to not do that. I'm not paying it off immediately. So let's say I take 2 months to pay it, right? Well, even if you got to make the minimum payment, guess what? There's no interest on that minimum payment. So if your payment is, let's say, I don't know, $50, $100, whatever it is, it's going to be pretty low. You pay that for 2 months. But you still keep all that cash flow in your business. You see what I'm saying? So the $5,000 I just spent wasn't even any of my money. So I still have all my cash flow. All of the money I invested is still in the business. It's not leaving. Now the money I'm bringing in is coming from an outside source, which at that point is the credit card. So even if I made that minimum payment for 2, even 3 months, right? There's no interest on that. It's free money. Let's say on month 4, I decide to pay it off, right? Boom, I pay it off. Yeah, I'm not going to have all of that back. But guess what? And I'm looking at it like long term. That means all the money that I'm making from that at that point is all free profit to me. I didn't pay anything in interest. And so I didn't pay for the inventory. And so every bit of that profit, it's free. It's like somebody giving me the profits, right? And now let's say because it's a 15-month credit card, 4, 8, 12, let's say I do that 3 times on that card before before the interest starts kicking in. I do that 3 times, boom. What does that do for my business? It boosts my business, and me, I didn't have to put a dime into it. And all the profits continue to come in. The cash continue flowing in residually because it's not all coming back at once, right? It's not, I ain't getting it all back in 2 weeks, you know, I wish, but I'm not. So that's why and how I use that, because I don't want to use my money to make the purchases. I pretty much want to use other people's money, OPM, to build my business. That's what I'm working toward, to where I'm not spending 1 red cent of my own money for any inventory or anything. Okay. All right. So that's the credit card thing. That's how I use credit cards. I don't use debit cards in my personal expenses or my personal life. I use a credit card that I got from my bank. I always use the credit card. I get the cash back rewards. That's extra 500 or so at the end of the year. Use that towards Christmas or whatever I want to use it toward. Really doesn't matter. But anything and everything that I can use that credit card for is as far as things that I already purchased. Again, I'm not going out and just spending and buying extra stuff, right? This is stuff that I would already be buying. Same thing with the business. Things that I would already be paying for with my business, I'm always using a credit card for. And I'm also utilizing the cards that come with the 0 interest for extended periods. The reason I'm able to get these cards with these long extended periods is because of the way that I responsibly use my card, guys. That's what you got to realize. When you start using your card this way and they see you making these payments and you ain't got no late payments and you always paying your statement, listen, you ain't gonna have enough. You're gonna have all types of offers. You don't need to take them all, of course, but you look at them and you sift through them and you see which ones got the good rewards and which ones are good for what you are trying to accomplish, and use it. But be disciplined. Now we're gonna move over. Let me make sure that that's all I had to say about the cards real quick. 0 interest. We want cash back. And again, we never pay interest. We never pay interest, ever. The interest rate could be 100%. It does not matter because I'm never making a minimum payment. I am always in fact, I can tell you this, with the one card I use, the Capital One card, I spend more than my limit is per month because I'm using it so much that technically I'm overspending, but it doesn't matter because I pay it right back and then I spend more. So I'm spending more than my limit and I'm still not paying any interest. It's always 0 interest. and I'm racking up the cash back. Now we're going to go into the line of credit and loans. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about my thought on loans and lines of credit, what I've done and why, and what I'm doing and why. Now, on the loan thing, I have used a loan, but I've used it for a purpose strategically. All right, now let me tell you what I did and why. So because I use QuickBooks, all my financial info is in QuickBooks. And of course, QuickBooks is a financial institution and they want to give you money when they see you making money. So they offered me a loan, a $10,000 loan, pretty low interest rate. And I wasn't going to take it, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just do it, right? Because here's why I did it. Because my ultimate goal was eventually to be in a position where if I need it, because I want bigger businesses down the line. My goal and my vision is more than reselling, is to do more than that. And so, but I know you got to build relationships with these financial institutions, and it starts out small. So I took the $10,000 loan, bought inventory with it, right? Paid it back, paid it off. So what do you think happens when you pay it off? Oh, now they come back. Hey, guess what? We got $50,000 for you now, but I'm not taking it because I don't want it. I did that only for that express purpose. Then they come back with me because they might think that offer wasn't good enough. Then they offer me $100,000. I'm like, I ain't doing that either. Now, if I had like a situation where I really needed that to make a big purchase, but then I know I could like offload it super fast, I probably would. But my purpose of doing that was not like, no. Also, now Walmart uses a third-party payment service. I don't know why. It's called Payoneer. They keep trying to offer me money based on my financials that go through there. They want to give me almost $10,000, right? And here's what's crazy about what they saying. They're like, look, you get the 10,000. They said you get 35% off the fees for the first loan. Then they said the second loan, you get 50% off the fees. In my mind, that sounds pretty attractive, right? I'm like, but I don't have a need for a loan right now, so I'm not going to like go get a loan just because of that. But that's a pretty good deal. And this is what these companies start doing when they see that you make some money and you are responsible with your money and you pay back your loans, and like, I'm building my business credit. So this goes out into that sphere, right? When it comes to like the loan people and the financial institutions, these places are reporting. And so it comes back. And so I have opportunity now. So now I let it sit there because if and when I might need that money for a certain situation, I can always still go back to them and apply and get it. But I only used that loan one time and was for that purpose, to establish that relationship and to have them report, right? Because I needed that reported, that I had that loan and that loan was paid off, because now I get more offers and I get more opportunities for cash if I need it. So that was the only loan I did. I have no plans of doing any loans in the near future. I'll say that. Not in the near future. Now, what I really want is lines of credit. As of right now, I do have a line of credit. I tried to get one through American Express. They wouldn't do it. You know, it's crazy. My own bank wouldn't even give me a line of credit. And this is another reason why you need to talk to your banker, okay? One of the things they talked to me about was, and the people I did end up getting a line of credit through, it's only because that institution is connected with QuickBooks and they see all my financial information going through QuickBooks. And so I guess they figured they'll do it. Whatever. It was a small line of credit, but that's fine because that's usually how it all starts. But my banker had explained to me some things, because I'm like, hey, man, explain to me what you guys look for when someone applies for a line of credit. And he goes over the normal stuff, you know, payment history on things, if you got any derogatory remarks on your credit score, of course. But he said, you know, something else, like he said, if you got like collections, because I told him I had 2 small collections. And he was like, look, if you got collections, he said, you know, sometimes people will dispute them and try to get them removed, or they'll you know, make a deal to pay. He said, pay off, just pay it off. Whatever it is, just pay it off. He said, because one thing we look at is how do you own up to, like, when you make a mistake or when you owe somebody. So basically what he's saying is, let's say I'm in $200, I owe $200 to a collector. He said, it looks better to them if you just pay them the $200 rather than either dispute it and get it knocked off, or make a deal and say, oh, I'll pay y'all 100. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you won't get a loan or a line of credit from your bank, because I'm thinking long term too. Eventually, I want to buy a house. Eventually, I want to get a line of credit, whatever it is, right? So these are the things that my banker said. We look at that. We look at how you work, not only how you manage your money and finances, but how you respond when you mess up. And that influences greatly whether or not we give it to you. And if we do, how much you get. So, I mean, that's just something for y'all to think about, especially if you got collections and things like that. But you can do it how you want. It doesn't mean that you still can't get a loan or line of credit, or your credit score won't eventually get bumped up. Doesn't mean that, but I'm just saying these are things you need to talk to a banker about. If you got a banker, especially if eventually you want to get loans and lines of credit from them, sit down with them first. Ask them what they're looking for. That'll give you something to start off with, and it'll help you set out the roadmap for how you're going to accomplish your goals, right, going forward from that point. But I don't want the credit right now as far as like the loan stuff. The line of credit is what I want, and here's why I want the lines of credit instead. Now, let's say, for instance, you got somebody wants to give me a $10,000 loan. Let's just say they want to give me a $10,000 loan at 1%, but then or it'll be a $10,000 loan, or no, $10,000 loan at 1%, or a $10,000 line of credit, let's just say at 3%. I would take the $10,000 line of credit at 3%. Why? I know you might say, well, that's kind of stupid. Not really, because one, you can pay it off. My goal again, if I didn't have, let's just say I get the $10,000 line of credit. I would not use that $10,000, the whole $10,000, unless I already had $10,000 that I could totally pay that off if I needed to, if something went wrong. Okay. But I'll get to that in a second. I would take that because with the loan, it's $10,000 one time, right? And I got to make those payments regardless. So unless you already got something set up that you need that for, like you got to use that. You got to pay that money back. Them payments is coming regardless. But with the line of credit, once I get it, it's there. And in some institutions, yeah, after a certain amount of time, if you don't use it, you might close it out, or you might need to reapply. Look, there's a lot of stuff that go in this. Again, you need to sit down and talk with somebody about it. I'm telling you what I do and what I've done and how I do it and why. So I would take the line of credit because, yeah, I got the 10,000, but I might not need the whole 10,000. So why would I get that $10,000 loan and still be obligated to pay that back, even at the 1% interest, when I might not have needed the whole 10? I might just need 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever, right? For a moment. But I want it to be open and recurring. That loan is one time. And yeah, maybe I get another loan afterward, but it's just too much going on right there. Unless I need that for something very specific that I know I'm going to pay back, I don't want the loan. I want the credit. Or the line of credit, I mean, because it's open. So with that $10,000 line of credit, right, I can use 5 here, boom, pay that off, right? And I've never had any that charge you a penalty for paying off early. So I don't even worry either. Let's say on that 5, like again, just 3%. Well, I'm not worried about what they calculate that interest to be at the end of the payment term, because I'm not going to hold it that long. I'm never going to hold it to the end of the term anyway. So it's still going to be lower. So now here's how it works for me. I got the $10,000 line of credit, right? Let's say I want to make an inventory purchase. Say the inventory purchase is $5,000. Okay. I don't want to use my money. I got the money, but I don't want to use it. And again, if I need to, if anything go wrong, I have $5,000 to cover that if I need to. Okay. So I make the $5,000 inventory purchase, right? Boom. Get the line out. Now, I didn't pay anything for that. My cost of goods, I automatically calculate based on what the interest would be if I held it to term. Based on that. So in worst case scenario, hey, if I decide just to hold this to term, whatever, what would that interest be? All right, that's how I calculate my cost of goods per item. So in the worst case scenario, this is my cost of goods. Am I good with that? Yeah. Okay, cool. Make the purchase. Guess what? It doesn't matter, because everything after that is still all profit to me for money that I did not have to use of my own. No money out of pocket. It's all profit to me. Again, it's important you have cash flow because you can't start this like this in the beginning because then you're starting off behind the 8 ball. Then you're starting off in debt. Me utilizing this debt is not putting me in debt at all. I know you might think it, but it's not. It's not putting me in debt. I'm not in debt. Even if I took the whole 10,000, I am not technically in debt at all. That money is coming right back to them, whatever the interest is for however long I carry that to term, and everything after that is profit for me. But it's always working. See, like once you get it started, it's working for you throughout the weeks and throughout the months and throughout the year. It's always working to the point where you use that over and over again. And now you got higher and higher lines of credit. You're never coming out of pocket. And look, I know what you might be thinking. What if something go wrong? What if you get a bad load, or what if you get a bad power, bad this? I mean, look, there's always a risk involved, right? There's always a risk involved. That's why it's up to you to do your research, to know who you messing with, who you purchasing stuff from, and be very strategic and careful with your purchases. How you do that, right? I'm not worried about it. And again, worst case scenario, somebody scam me and don't send what they say, right? Maybe I looked at it and it was supposed to be manifested and it looks so good. And this ain't outside the realm of possibility because I've heard these horror stories happen before. And so they send it to me, and instead of top of the line cosmetics and makeup, it's a truckload of toilet paper, right? And they get out on me, right? Well, that would suck. That would suck bad, but I would have the money to cover that. And in that case, yes, I would lose, right? I would lose, but I would have the money to cover that. Hopefully that don't happen. I mean, that's why I kind of deal with certain people and I only buy from certain places because I kind of got a really good idea. And up to this point, and I've been doing this, guys, for a very extended period of time now at this point, I haven't had it go wrong like that, and prayerfully it won't. But so that's to cover that, because I know some of you going to say, well, what if something go wrong? What if you buy something bad? Be strategic. Be strategic with your purchases. That's all I'm saying. Be strategic. But again, in the worst case scenario, just in case, get a truckload of toilets like I did, but I would never buy an unmanifested truckload again either. You make sure you got the money to pay it off. Look, I'm not overextending my debt. I'm not overextending my cash. I always have enough to pay it off if I have to. Something you really need to understand. Okay, so let's get back into this. The line of credit. I just bought some inventory, right? I didn't use my money. I used the line of credit. And guess what? Here's why. Now that institution, they're going to continue to see that. They report this. I'm using my business. They report it. My business credit increases. My business's reputation for using debt responsibly increases. That line of credit increases, and they give me more and more and more. Right now, what they're giving me really ain't much, so I ain't even worried about it. I just use it. I don't even have to. I use it for the express purpose of building that relationship and then getting them to report. One, it's very important that I get these things reported to the credit bureau. I need it to be reported because that's the whole purpose, to increase my credit with them. And two, to increase the amount of money that I have access to, right? The cash flow, right? So I always have cash flow. And let's just say like a huge opportunity come by, right? Where it exceeds my line of credit, but with my line of credit and my money that I got, I can do it. See, that's where this comes in handy. Heck, and maybe I even have to use a loan. I don't know. Like there might be, because look, I want to get into some other things, man, like laundromats and things like that, things that's more passive. So at some point, I'm probably going to need access to either a line of credit, a loan, or both, right? I'm going to need access to some real capital. But this is how you grind it out. You can use this in reselling. Look, I don't want y'all to think that like this is some big thing. You can use this in your personal life as far as the credit cards go, and using your credit card instead of your debit card so that you can get those cash back points and have hundreds of dollars at the end of the year extra just for buying. Again, you're only using the credit card for stuff you would already buy. And you should use it in your reselling business. All your supplies, all your inventory purchases. I mean, if you go into yard sales, I guess that's different, but it's different for everybody, man. But I know all of y'all out there got something different going on, but this can apply in every way. You should be working towards elevating your business and elevating yourself financially. This goes beyond what type of items you're buying and all of that. This is beyond all of that, because we're trying to think past that. And even if you want to buy a house one day or whatever it may be, like, these small things in the beginning is going to help build your credit history and help you get there. It's one thing I forgot to say about the accounts. I missed this part. Now this part might be a little bit different for y'all, because some of you might not have the capital to do this yet. But for those of you who do, if you're not doing this, you really need to consider this, because I totally forgot about this. But this is the other thing. When we come from the checking account and saving account thing. So now at this point, those aren't even things I want to use anymore. Here's what I did. I took it to the next level. Money market account. Okay. Why do I use a money market account now? Well, money market account, all right, I'm going to get ahead of myself. Let's go back to the benefits of your checking accounts through your bank. Another one of the benefits that my banker told me that I had with my checking account was, if I got a certain type of CD, because of that checking account, I would get a 5% rate. So basically they're paying me 5%. So for instance, they have a CD, and on this specific CD, it's $10,000, 7-month term, 5%. And the only reason I get the 5% is because that's one of the benefits of having that checking account. Now, that specific deal is not something that I've taken advantage of yet, only because while I can put 10,000 in it, I'm not sure that, because with CDs, right, you can't take them out early without a penalty. And so only thing it's almost an extra $500 at the end of the 7 months. And 7 months is not that long, but I always think, like, what if I really need it for something? So I don't know, but if I needed to, that is a benefit. So that's another reason you need to find out what the perks are of having certain types of checking accounts. Because if you're one of those people, because look, if I decided I wanted to take $10,000 for the 7-month term, put it in a CD and get that extra $400 or $500 at the end of that term, well, guess what? I just made another $400 or $500 at the end of that term for nothing. So if you decide, and maybe there's some smaller one, guys, there's going to be certain amounts that you got to start off with. So look, I know I don't want to lose some of y'all. You need to be thinking about, but these are things that you can also aspire to. These are goals that you can be shooting for, things that you can be looking at, how to grow your business. Because why do you want to keep using your own money when you don't have to? You don't have to. And why would you continue to spend money without making money when you could be making money, spending money on the things that you already spending on in the first place? Right? But let's get back to this money market account. So now the money market account. So I opened up the money market account with $25,000. The money market account is paying almost 5% interest, compound interest, calculated monthly. No, I think weekly. It's calculated weekly, paid monthly. Something like that, right? So, and again, I'm not trying to lose some of you guys. This is something that you're going to have to talk to your banker. Every money market account is different. Minimum amounts are different. Maybe you got enough to open one, maybe you don't. I don't know, but it's something you can shoot for. Who knows? Now, the money market account is different from the CD, because the money market account, my money ain't locked in. I opened it up with the 25 to start off because that was the minimum to get me a 5% interest rate on that. 5% compound interest, compounded daily, right? I mean, I can't remember how he said this, but either way, it might be compounded weekly, paid out monthly, compounded daily. I don't know, something like that. Either way, it's paid out monthly, but it's compound interest. That means they're calculating the interest based on the daily balance, right? Based on the daily balance. My money's not locked in. It's still liquid. So I can, if I wanted to, I could use that account for, purchases and shit. But of course I'm not. Like that account is not going to be hooked up to anything. And here's what I do. I take my money from my business. I take my money from my personal account, not all of it, and I put it in there. That's how I started off with the 25. And I already got written down how much I have from each, because I don't make no purchases from this money market account. If I need any money from my personal or my business account from this money market account, I know exactly how much I put into each. I'm not worried about the interest that's calculated. So for instance, let's say I put in 12 and a half from my business and 12 and a half from my personal to make the 25, right? Well, I know that's what I got in. Now, if I add any more, I just use a simple spreadsheet to show how much I got. So like if I need any of it for either account, I just transfer it back to that account. It's a split second. I transfer it back to that account to use. But the reason why I try to keep the balance as high as possible, for one, if it's over 25, I get the 5%. If it falls below the 25, I still get interest, but it's like 3 point something percent, right? It fluctuates. So I still get paid. I don't have to keep it above 25. The interest rate just goes down. So they're basically rewarding you for having more. Now that there, guys, my goal is to get $100,000+ in that account and to have that interest accrue. It's going to be a lot of money extra. As of right now, I just got an interest statement the other day. It's like $80-something, something like that. Yeah, somewhere around there, man. I don't know, but off of, and it wasn't even a whole month. It wasn't even a whole month, man. So, and that compounds. And so what I do is I put more money in there every month. I put some more money in there and I keep that balance higher. And if I need it for either of my accounts, I just transfer it. So this is another way that I help to bring money to my bottom line, because that money that even if I didn't, or if I paid all of it from my business, I don't need it. But if I need it, it's there to use. I still got enough in my business to cash flow the business, to cash flow the credit cards, to cash flow the line of credit. I ain't paying, because I already cash flowed the business early enough. I already built it up. But if I need the 25 or any parts of it, I got access to it. In the meantime, and my whole thinking behind this was, why am I letting my money sit in a checking account, a regular checking account, or a regular savings account, and really basically earning me nothing? That makes absolutely no sense, right? And that's when I had another conversation with my banker and we started talking about the money. I said, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, look, if you got any type of balance that's large enough, man, especially if you got tens of thousands of dollars sitting, you are losing out on so much money. So that's why I keep some in that special checking account, because that gives me benefits. I get that extra $100 at the end of the month. I get the free safe deposit box. I get the free wire transfer every month. I get some other stuff. I get the higher rate on the CD if I choose to use it. So yeah, I want those perks. So I keep a balance in there. But again, my banker told me, look, man, don't even worry about it, because with the whole amount that you got with us, we'll just go based off that. See, they'll work with you. It ain't like, oh, well, if this account fall below this, we ain't going. They don't really care about that, man. So yeah, I got the money market and I just keep adding to that balance. And if I need the money, it's there. I keep track of everything, but that interest is building daily. And now I made almost $100, right? Think about this. I made almost $100 in 1 month off of money that had been just sitting there that wouldn't have made me anything sitting in a checking account, a regular checking account. In 1 month. Think about over the course of a year how much extra money that is from just that one thing. So now I got the interest coming from the money market account. I got the cash backs coming from both my personal credit card and my business credit cards, right? I have the, what else is it? The interest, I think that's it, right? Interest from the money market, the cash back. I get the free $100 for having that checking account, and maybe it or whatever. But by the end of the year, between all of that, that's a lot of extra money for nothing. I didn't do anything extra. I just had a conversation with a banker. I didn't do anything extra. And so let me see if I'm missing anything, guys. Let me see. Yeah, okay. And so that's the main reason why I've been doing these things. And the reason why I wanted to share these, I know this is a long video and I'm sorry, but if you guys are watching this whole video, look, you're going to learn something, man. If you have enough money to get these things started, get started. But if you don't, work on it. Go sit down at the very least and have a talk with your banker about the type of accounts you got. Ask them if you got a checking account, ask them what the perks are, and ask them what other types of checking accounts they have and what those perks are. If you do already got cash flow in your business, you're shooting yourself in the foot if all you got is a checking and or savings account. If you can get started in a money market account, even if you can't put in a minimum of 25,000 to get the highest rate, find out what their lowest minimum is, because that interest is going to be, first of all, it's compound interest, and it's going to be more than any other account that bank has to offer you, whether it's a select checking account or some other one, or especially a savings account, which we all know make you a couple pennies a year probably, right? You need to have that conversation with your banker. As for the cards, the credit cards and stuff, I don't know why you would be using a debit card if you are. That's almost kind of stupid to be using a debit card for your personal expenses and for your business expenses. You just giving away money. You're giving away money. Again, you have to be disciplined with your spending. You're never going to spend money that you don't have. Only buy in your personal life the things that you already are paying for, pay the bills that you already paying, and you just pay off the whatever the statement balance is. Again, it's a net 30 with the credit cards for your business, right? You can use that debt. You can use that in a good way to earn the cash back. You can use it as net 30. You can use the zero interest cards. You can flip those cards over and over again within that term before that interest is due. Balance paid off. And guess what else? You just increased your credit score because you paid off your credit cards, kept up with the payments, right? You just increase your utilization, which increases your credit score, because that's why you don't want to close out a credit card. You just keep it open, and if you don't use it, you don't use it, and then maybe eventually, once you get a couple more open, you kind of just maybe close those out eventually. But I haven't closed one out yet. And then when it comes down to the loans and the line of credit, again, I got a loan strategic for specific purpose, paid it off. It increased my credit. It increased my business credit. It also opened me up to other opportunities to get increasingly higher amounts if I need them. I'm not going to be using them anytime soon. My main thing I want is higher amounts of lines of credit so that I can use those to cash flow my business. And that's that. I use very little of my own money at this point to buy inventory. Very little. And I'm not losing. And every bit look, it don't even matter how much, well, I ain't gonna say it don't matter. Whatever the interest is, or whatever the profit is, despite the interest on the line of credit or whatever, it's all profit. And the categories I sell in are mostly higher sell through. I do got stuff that sit around. I got stuff I gotta get rid of, and I got all that, but I make sure that the majority of the stuff I buy is high sell through, and at the very minimum, most of the money from the inventory I take, that once that inventory is listed, most of that's coming back to me within a couple months, if not all. That's the type of stuff I'm buying, and anything else that's just sitting around is kind of like just extra stuff. And so as that money trickles in, that's profit. And guess what, guys? I didn't put any of my own money in there. None of my own money. Another reason why, if you don't sell on, I know a lot of you guys are averse to selling on platforms like eBay or Walmart or whatever, but there's so much more opportunity than just being able to get on those platforms. And there's just, you can build up your finances in such a faster way than you can on eBay. I'm telling you, there's certain things you can sell on eBay that would warrant utilizing lines of credit maybe and credit cards the way that I do. But if all I did was eBay, I don't know, man. I would have to have a plug for some really good stuff, because it would be, and I haven't had to think about it because I don't do it, but it would be a little more difficult. I would just say that challenging, because I get that money back so much faster on Amazon and Walmart, so much faster, which makes this so much more possible. And then the ultimate goal is to be able to have access to lines of credit above 100,000 and even loans, because eventually I'm trying to invest in bigger businesses. Trying to get my goal for next year is to go the whole year and not spend one red cent on inventory from my own money. This year I have used some of my money, but I've used a great portion of lines of credit or credit cards, which the zero interest cards is pretty much free money. I didn't pay no interest on it. I used up the credit, flipped it a few times, By the time interest come due, I ain't using it no more. It's already paid off. Any profit coming from the inventory that I purchased, all profit for me off of no investment of my own. Same thing with the line of credit, and that stuff's getting reported to the credit bureaus. They're increasing my limits. They're increasing everything. I'm getting these relationships. So when the time comes, I'm going to be primed and in position to take advantage of a larger opportunity when it comes my way. All right. But look, I know this was a lot, man. I know this was a lot. I went through a lot. There's a lot more. There's a lot more. I didn't go through everything, guys. I didn't go through everything. But the way you might say to me, and I'll end with this. You might say to me, yeah, but Ed, I'm just a little guy. Like a lot of that, like I don't got $25,000 to do a money market account. I don't got $25,000 to do a money market account. I ain't got this. Listen to me, okay? First, start with the basics. Check your accounts. What type of accounts you got? If you don't got a separate business and a personal account, start there. If you do, go and ask your banker, hey, what type of checking account do I got? And what is the perks? And if there are none, what other accounts do you have? And what are the perks of having those accounts? Start there. Start with the checking accounts, right? Segregate your funds. Don't keep the majority in one account that can be hacked or scammed or whatever. Only keep a certain amount and keep the rest in the side account. And you can kind of just transfer as you need. Start there. If you got good enough credit to get a small amount on the credit card personally through your bank or through whoever, get that. Only use that credit card to buy stuff that you already buy instead of your debit card, and to pay bills that you already pay. And make sure I got cashback rewards. Trust me, at the end of the year, you can come back into this video and thank me, because you'll have a lot of free money and you won't be in debt, because you're going to set it to automatically pay the statement balance every month. You're not losing, you're only gaining. Same thing for your business. You're going to do the same exact things, man. Ask them what the accounts they have available, what the perks are. Start trying to get as much free income and as much perks from these institutions as you can. But you're not going to know if you don't sit down and have these conversations with your banker, with your accountant. You're not going to know, and you're going to go years like I did at one point and miss out on thousands and thousands of dollars. Eventually, you'll be able. That's another reason why I use QuickBooks, because my finances go through there. So these institutions, when they connect to that, they see that, which makes it a whole lot easier to get approved. I mean, I know a lot of you guys maybe not on this, but listen, man, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to make $1. You ain't just got to worry about selling this and selling that. That's why even, let's just say, for instance, for the year, I'm down $2,000 or whatever. Well, I ain't really down, because the money I make off my interest through these money market accounts and all this other stuff, it covered it. Let's just say that happens, right? I'm up for the year though. But let's just say that, like, it helps. It helps. That extra $500 I'm gonna have on my personal credit card, that's extra $500 I can buy Christmas presents with that I wouldn't have had. And all I did throughout the year was pay for bills that I gotta pay and buy stuff that I buy anyway. Same thing with the business, guys. Same thing. And the credit cards, if you use them right, it's free money. Net 30s, net 60s, net whatevers. You getting the money now. You extend the cash flow of your business. You can use that money for more important things, even if it's buying inventory, until eventually you get to the point now, you ain't even really paying for the inventory. The money is being paid for by the institutions, and the profits are coming back to you. Listen, man, I've been doing this all year long. All year long. I put very little money of my own into my business at this point. And next year, my goal is to not spend one penny of my own money. Not 1 cent. It's all going to come through the lines of credit and the credit cards with zero interest. Guarantee you, watch. I'm going to report back to y'all on that. But next year, that's my goal. None of it. It's all profit, all free profit. Whatever my profit is at the end of next year, it's going to be all free money plus the interest that I get with the money market account, plus the cash back rewards that I get because I use my credit cards. It's all free money, all money I made, and I didn't spend a dime. Look, man, I hope y'all realize what I just said and the gems that I just dropped. If you did, give me a like. I know it was a lot. My mouth is dry as heck If I'm talking this long, if you stuck through this video, I really, really appreciate you, man. If you have any questions, drop them below. I'll answer it. If it requires a longer answer, we can talk more about this on next week's live on Wednesday night. So make sure you join me every Wednesday at 6 o'clock. But you guys need to change your mindset and how you think about business, how you think about how you running your business. I don't care what level you on. I don't care how small you are right now. This is the information nobody's giving you. You might have some people that would even try to charge you, but I'm telling you right now, man, reselling or not, whatever you want to do, start looking at it in this way, right? Building credit, building up relationships with financial institutions, having conversations with your banker, having conversations with an accountant, and taking this advice and using it in a very disciplined and very responsible way. And I guarantee you, you are going to excel past everyone else. And even in them tough times, when times is tough like now, for some of us on eBay and maybe cash is tight, you'll have access to cash. Then if an opportunity come up, you ain't got to wonder where you're going to get the money from because you got this line of credit over here or you got these credit cards here. And again, you're not ever spending more than you can pay back. I never do that. I want to reiterate that. If I had $100,000 line of credit open to me right now, I would not utilize the whole $100,000, of course, because I do not have $100,000 in my bank accounts. With all my bank accounts, I don't have 100K just sitting there. I don't. But I could use a large portion of that, but it would have to be for something that I can flip just like that and get that money back and pay it off, because I'm not looking to pay out until the, until the term of whatever that term is that I pay that amount back. But if I had that 100K available, whatever portion that I use will be a portion that I'm comfortable with. If things went super bad, I can pay it back and be cool. But guess what happens when I pay that back? I have access to a whole nother $100,000. That's the benefit of a line of credit over a loan. And I'm not obligated to pay on that unless I took the money out. Whereas with a loan, once you take it, you got to pay. You got to pay. So your decision, you need to make some decisions and fast. And you better hope it work out for you. With the line, I can take out whatever amount I need. I can pay that amount back, even if I only needed 5 of that or 10K of that. I don't need to take the whole thing. But guess what? If I ever need it, it's available, it's there, I can use it. But you only get that through strategic planning, through disciplined use of your funds and money management. And this is something we all need to be thinking about and working on. And if you listen to me this long, run my mouth, God bless you. Give me a like, y'all. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and I'll talk to y'all again soon.